Especially if you're talking about teaching middle school and high school kids. It's not about the degrees. It's about patience, and it's about what you know. And it's also about how much you care. All right, so what I'm going to do today is hopefully make this about you. And I'm hoping that if you have questions about either the music education side of thing, the composition side, if you want to talk about the publishing side of thing, we can talk about whatever you guys want to today. I want it to be about you. Let me just tell you a little bit about my background and some of the things that I've done. Maybe that'll spark a few questions in you. And then I'll leave you with a couple of things that I really believe in that are important for people that are considering being music educators or know for sure that they're going to be music educators. And I will tell you that there's no better profession in the world. Okay? You can tell by the way it pays, right? Okay? Yeah, it's not about pay, you know, and it's about love for what we do. And that's why when you talk to kids about who some of their favorite teachers have been over the years, it's never surprising when someone mentions a music teacher as being a person that really inspired them. Okay? My principal called me into, and you know, whenever your principal calls you into the office, you get a little bit nervous. He called me into the office a couple years ago, and he said, "Richard, I need to ask you a really serious question." I'm sure, John, you know, what do you need to know? What can I help with? He said, well, he goes, when I go to the performing arts area, he goes, no matter what class I go into, whether it's band, choir, orchestra, drama, technical theater, he goes, kids are engaged. He goes, I don't see any kids like in the back of the room hanging out. Everyone's busy, everyone's on task, everyone's trying to get better. And he goes, when I go to an English class, I don't see that. And I need to figure out a way to get that energy and that enthusiasm in our English classes. And I just looked at him, I said, John, it's not going to happen. And he said, what? He got kind of upset. He said, what do you mean it's not going to happen? I said, because there's a big difference in philosophy in teaching the two classes. Okay? In English, student A sitting next to student B, if student A gets a 90 on the test and student B gets a 60, student A is all about that. Okay? It's like, oh, he got a 60. Oh, too bad. Okay, but what she or he is really thinking is, wow, that 90 actually means a little bit more because he brought the curve down. All right? In band, it doesn't work that way. In choir and orchestra, it doesn't work that way. Student A can't get an A unless student B gets an A. And that's what I think is still very special about our profession. And so he told me, he said, so what you're saying, Richard, is that if I told the math kids that they had to go out at halftime on Friday night and do some of their math projects or puzzles or whatever in front of the audience there, that our math program would get better. And I said, you watch those test scores go up, okay, if you do that. And he goes, well, you know, I do it too. I'm like, John, don't do that. Okay? but the point being that, and you guys know this too already if you're in this profession, if you're running any kind of performance, all right, you don't say to your third, you know, your lowest chair clarinetist, okay, or the weakest singer in your group. You don't say to them, hey, you know what? You sit this one out. You sit on the bench. You don't say that, okay? What we do is what other teachers sometimes consider crazy. We actually will, after class is over, spend extra time with that person, okay, and actually try to get them up to speed where they should be because they have to perform just like everybody else. All right, and the other neat thing about our profession is that there are usually kids in our ensembles and in our groups that are willing to work with the weaker kids too. And so there's always this camaraderie, there's always this feeling of team, this energy to performing arts that makes what we do very, very special. All right, so don't forget that. All right, and I've taught for 30 years now, and I can't believe it's been 30 years because it's really flown by. It feels like it's only been like 3 or 4. And I still love it. I still love it because I never feel like I know what I'm doing. Think about that for a second. Every day I go into the classroom, I get in front of my kids, I get nervous. You know, and I always tell my friends, my colleagues, when I don't get nervous anymore in front of our group, that's when I know it's time to stop. That's when I'm done. And when I say to myself, I don't have anything else to learn, that's when I'm done. All right? So the reason I love talking to potential music educators is because when I went to school, I wished more people had told me what I needed to do. And you know, we all take our college classes and we all do, you know, all the ed classes and everything else that we need to do. But sometimes, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes someone just needs to come in and say, now if you're going to do this in the classroom, you need to think about this. All right? And sometimes just getting in front of classes and doing that shows you that the classwork that you do in college, or even after college sometimes, isn't enough. All right? So I think it's important to talk to people that are out there walking the walk, you know, all the time, and say, you know, what's going on with that? And what do I need to do to be successful? So the first thing I would suggest to all of you is, if you're planning on going into any type of education, every free second you get, and I know you're very busy, and the college curriculums nowadays are absolutely mind-boggling. You have to stay so busy to stay on top of it. You know, when I was going to school, you could be done in 4 years. You know, now it's a rarity to be done, you know, in 4 years. If you're really lucky, it's usually 5, okay, or more. All right, but you need to get out into the schools, okay? And what you're probably going to find is what I find a lot of times, even in my own building. You go home like this. Are you kidding me? Because you can't imagine how tough it is out there in certain places. And so you gotta love it, you gotta believe in it, and you gotta believe in what it does for kids. It can't be about having an ensemble that's better than somebody else's. You know what I'm saying? It's gotta be about what you're gonna do for kids. All right? Because I've had some groups that have been really, really great. I've had some groups that have been really, really terrible. But some of those terrible groups have been the most meaningful groups I've ever worked with, because those kids, it meant more to those kids than anything they've ever done. All right? And it was special for them. Okay? So if you're going to be an educator, you've got to have that kind of tough, kind of a little bit crazy mentality where you say, I'm going to go in, I'm going to fight it out. I'm going to keep fighting it out until I see some kids smile, until I see some kids running in the door because it's time for band, or it's time for choir, or it's time for orchestra. Okay? Very few kids run in the door to math class. Okay? Very few kids run in the door even to lunch. Okay? But when you see your kids coming into the building excited about band that day, that's what makes it cool to be a teacher. All right?